Welcome into another video. We are getting into the Dynasty rookie mock draft season. Going to be talking about 50 players somehow with this 2026 class, Ryan. We're going to scrounge up a 50-person mock. Me and Ryan are going to go back and forth. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a true full-blown like mock draft in that sense, but me and Ryan are going to alternate selections and then kind of just talk about each round in general once we finish the round. I'm going to let my boy Ryan Cash Sharma start, and we can maybe just, I would say, Ryan, let's just go pick by pick. We don't got to dive into each pick, and then we can explain our thought process once we get around to it.
Yeah, I'd say like once we maybe get to the end of a tier, we can kind of explain that tier.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that better.
Okay, yeah. So for me, I'm going to start with Jeremiah Love, the obvious pick, I think, at number one. I'd be surprised if he's not consensus for everybody, but obviously team, position needs do matter to some people, but I'll stick with Jeremiah Love here.
Totally understandable pick. I think that's pretty consensus at this point. I'm actually going to go with Carnell Tate here at the 2 spot. Feel like that number 4 overall pick going to a Dabble Award situation is pretty damn good.
All right, and then for me at 3, I'm going to go with Mendoza. And personally, that's where I would end tier 1. Not sure if you agree, but that's what I would do.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there, Ryan. We kind of talked about this in our quarterback rankings video with our rookie rankings. This wraps up tier 1 for me. I think that you could probably make an argument in any which way these guys could go in any order. Now, likely if we're going off of consensus rankings, if you want a quarterback, you could probably trade 1-1 away for a better quarterback than Fernando Mendoza with how the world sees it. But the way that I view Fernando Mendoza, and I know that you view Fernando Mendoza, I do think that he is well worthy of a 1-1 selection as well. And the same thing goes for Carnell Tate. We're both super high on his talent. He was the number 1 wide receiver coming out of college for us. He goes to a phenomenal situation with Cam Ward and Brian Dabble. They put a top 5 pick into him. He's the clear-cut number 1 weapon there. It's super exciting. So I think that this is the end of this tier for me as well. But I do think that we still got a really good tier ahead of us as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think these are 3 like guaranteed stars in my opinion, and probably the 3 safest and most guaranteed. I mean, dude, these are 3 of the top 4 draft picks in the actual NFL draft. Yeah. Like that's kind of crazy to think about. They all go to great situations. I think you could probably nitpick Jeremiah Love's situation a little bit more, but he's going to be just such a fantasy productive player because of his receiving upside, his explosiveness. So I'm not sure how much the landing spot even matters for a running back like that necessarily. It more so matters for receiver and quarterback. And then you already broke down the Carnell Tate landing spot. I love that as well. I think Mendoza is getting one of the better quarterback landing spots you can imagine, especially for a first pick, like having the tutelage of Tom Brady, having a revamped offensive line, and then, elite weapons, in my opinion, in Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. So I think that's going to be a really exciting pairing there.
Oh, yeah. And you nailed it on the head with Mendoza. We've talked about him time and time again. I mean, we've been talking about Mendoza for a while now, and just Mendoza and the Raiders in that landing spot. As soon as they got the number 1 pick and Kubiak agreed to go there, like it was a done deal in my eyes on how great that was for him. But let's go ahead and get into our next tier. I got the next pick here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Mekhi Lemon. Now that might be a little shaky, but we've talked about it before. I'm very high on Mekhi Lemon. You got the pick here, Ryan.
I'm going Jordan Tyson. That's personally would be my number 4, but I would definitely have them in the same tier. So nothing too crazy there.
Agreed. And now this is where we start to get a little bit shaky. But for me, I think I'm probably going to go with what feels like the safer option and take Jadarian Price here at the 1-6.
No, I definitely understand that as well. Just this starting running back in Seattle's offense, I think he's going to instantly produce fantasy-wise. And then, in my opinion here, I think the end of the tier is Casey Concepcion. You might have a different viewpoint on that, but that's who I'd go with here. I'd like to hear what you think of like maybe Ty Simpson or Kenyon Sadiq, some of these other guys that maybe have fallen after, specifically Sadiq, maybe fallen after the NFL draft. Do you still consider him a part of tier 2?
Yeah, no, this is it right here. Bingo. Lemon,
Awesome.
Tyson, Price, and Concepcion. Me and you are nailed that on the head as well. That is my tier 2 laid out there for you. I do think that all 4 of these guys, I have them strong impact players immediately. For tier 1, I had them ranked as like long-term superstars.
Yeah.
I have these guys as strong immediate impact players. I think all 4 of these guys can come into these offenses and immediately produce fantasy production for your team. And I do think that from here moving forward, you're going to have maybe some upside reaches that might not produce right away. And you might have some safer floor guys, but just not super impactful in our eyes. I have the pick here. Yeah, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, this is tier 3. I'm gonna go with Ty Simpson here. I like the landing spot, the long-term value of what he can be learning behind Stafford and McVay. I'd take that over probably the upside and the boom that you could get over Stowers and Sadiq. Now, we probably should have prefaced this pre-video. Superflex league, base PPR as well. That's what we're going off of. I mean, if your dynasty leagues aren't Superflex and they're not, full PPR, I don't know what you're doing. That's how most leagues are operating, whether it's 10-man or 12-man, whatever. We're doing a 10-man here. This is in a Superflex league. I'm taking Ty Simpson here.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. I'd almost even like make an argument that Ty Simpson's like in his own tier, kind of, just because he's such a unique player that's going to obviously probably sit for, I would think, 2 years. Maybe it's only 1 if Stafford retires after this, but I do think it's going to be a 2-year kind of plan where he sits and then takes over in year 3. And I think just accounting for that, you kind of need to put him in his own space where it's like not going to impact your fantasy team at all next 2 years. But then once he takes over, he's theoretically taking over the best team in the NFL, the best offense in the NFL. So I would definitely consider him like a high upside play, but someone that you got to wait on. And for that reason, I think he's kind of unique and in his own tier in a lot of ways.
That's fair. That's fair to say.
So for me, that would be my tier 3, I suppose. But if you wanted to get to the next person, this is where I probably deviate a little bit more than the normal person. And I would go with my tight end 1, which is Eli Stowers and not Kenyon Sadiq. We explained this in the tight ends video that we did. I think Eli Stowers is going to a perfect spot in the sense that he gets to sit and learn in Philadelphia, kind of like a tight end, just a good foundation to learn and build his game, because he gets to sit behind Dallas Goedert. He gets to sit in a good offense and get some good teaching and put on some weight like he needs to do to succeed. So I think this Philadelphia offense landing spot is perfect for him to kind of redshirt this year, compared to Kenyon Sadiq, who's going to a pretty horrible situation, in my opinion.
Yep, 100%. I'm gonna take Kenyon Sadiq here because hold on. Actually, I don't know. Let me think about this, because I do have Omar Cooper Jr. ahead of him in my tier rankings, but I want to talk about all 4 of them. I know you're much lower on Cooper Jr. now, so I do think that I'm going to take Omar Cooper Jr. because I know that it would probably be a while before we saw you take him. I guess I could maybe just take him on my next pick, but I feel more comfortable with Omar Cooper Jr. In the Jets offense than maybe I do with Kenyon Sadiq in the Jets offense. I do think that there's going to be a lot more ways that Omar Cooper Jr. could touch the ball. And I think that's why I'm not super high on the Jets offense as a whole. I'm going to go with the guy with the upside and more touches. I'm a big fan of both of their talents, though. You got the next pick here. 1-1, they took Jadarian Price. How do you see them going double down here?
I mean, I am kind of interested in like Kenyon Sadiq in this position still, just because even though I'm lower on him than Eli Stowers, I still do think of like the talent in the draft capital is significant enough to whereas he's going to be a part of this offense, even if it's not immediately. Like you can still envision a situation where the Jets do become more competent going forward. Obviously, if they get a quarterback in there, a new coaching staff's probably coming next year. So I would still bet on like the high upside and the talent of Kenyon Sadiq, and I'd put him in this spot. You brought up an interesting debate, though, of Omar Cooper versus Kenyon Sadiq, and that's not something that we've done before because we've been grouping it positionally. So I would be interested, even if I was in that situation, like, man, Omar Cooper versus Kenyon Sadiq, I probably wouldn't go with either personally, but if you were in that spot, It's hard to it's really hard to deviate the two. I do agree with you that Omar Cooper is more versatile just as a receiver, right? So it's like he can play outside the slot. You can get him the ball in the backfield. But Kenyon Sadiq was the higher pick and the more talented player probably. So I don't know. I think I'd probably go Sadiq still over Cooper, but that's an interesting argument.
Yeah. So are we taking Sadiq here?
I'm taking Sadiq here. Yeah.
Taking Sadiq. Okay. Let's kind of get into this as well, because I do want to explain to the viewers that we might. I don't know how the fantasy worlds have shifted. Obviously, this is First Down Studio that we're using their website. They have Sadiq just a few spots higher than Stowers. So if you are like Ryan and you have a slightly higher grade on Eli Stowers and Kenyon Sadiq, I do think that if you're looking at, like, let's say you're perfectly fine at quarterback, you don't need to take Ty Simpson, you don't need to take the weight on a project like that, and you want to go tight end, you could envision probably a few pick move back if given the opportunity for somebody to come up for Sadiq. There's going to be guys like me who have Sadiq over Stowers, but it is so tight that I don't think it's the end of the world if you take Stowers over Sadiq as well. But there's going to be some people who view like Sadiq as in that Brock Bowers tier, where you could go out there and get a significant draft piece or trade piece for moving back off of Kenyon Sadiq. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That's what I really wanted to talk about, but I like the pick here. For me, this is where, so I'm done with that tier. My tier is over.
This is a massive tier break in my opinion.
I do think we are entering into a whole new tier, and it's kind of like your risky picks and some safe floors for some guys. This is where I think we're going to see a string of like receivers go here. You're not going to see a lot of running backs go here. You're just going to see some risky receiver picks. And I do think right here, right now, I'm probably going to go with Jeremy, because I don't know. I mean, do we get
That's your guy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Jeremy Bernard here and just load up on the wide receiver room, because this is a significantly more impactful wide receiver class than it was running back class. So I think locking in Carnell Tate and Jeremy Bernard at this spot for this guy's team, I think you're getting a really high level, immediate impact superstar player and a safe floor guy in Jeremy Bernard.
No, I definitely agree with you. I don't think I'm that high on Jeremy Bernard as a wide receiver prospect, but in a way, like I would almost feel okay taking him in this spot just because of the massive tier break and the fact that there's not a lot of certainty after the 2-1 here. And it's like with Jeremy Bernard, you're getting a wide receiver that's going to be in this league and be a valuable contributor for the next 5-10 years. Like even if he never reaches this super high ceiling, you're at least, you're getting a valuable piece to your team. And I kind of like that safety and that floor there. So even though I personally don't even have Bernard in my top 10 receivers, like I would actually consider him here at the 2-2, because I like to think like we're kind of getting into like the third round of normal rookie drafts, like right here at the 2-2. Like it's kind of crazy how the drop off, like Jeremy Bernard was a good prospect and all, but I would probably say he would have went third round last year, and especially in that draft class that had all those receivers like Marv, and 2 years ago with Marv and Rome and Neighbors, like he probably would have been like a third or fourth round pick.
Well, definitely in 2024, that would have been very interesting, because you saw 6 quarterbacks go in the first top 12 picks, and then you saw 6 or 7 wide receivers go in.
McConkey, Thomas, Rome.
And those were even McConkey and Keon Coleman were the first 2 picks of day 2. So it was like you still saw Worthy, was that Xavier Legette, and Brian Thomas Jr. on top of Rome, Marv, and Malik Neighbors. So, I think it's valid to say that Bernard might have probably been going in the third round of that year's class. And I'm trying to picture in my head, last year, I believe I had like an early third. I think this is where we were seeing like Kyle Williams, Jalen Noel, like this was kind of their range. It was a heavy running back loaded. Not
this early though, right? I remember like Ether Bird and Colson Loveland were falling to this like area. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh. Are we talking like the 1-3 or the 2-3 right here?
The two, like, yeah, the 2-2
Oh,
where we just
in
took
my
one.
head, I'm comparing the third, like what Jeremy Bernard would be going in previous years.
Okay.
Like I'm thinking Jeremy Bernard would probably be going around like the 3-1 in last year's class with like Jalen
Yeah.
Noel, Kyle Williams, guys like that. No, not right. No, Luther Burden. Yes, I saw Luther Burden slip here. I saw Colson Loveland slip here. Matthew Golden. This was kind of their range, and those were first round guys. So
That
it
just
was.
shows you, man, this class, it's just not as strong as recent years.
It's not as strong. Who you going here, Ryan?
I'm going to go with another receiver, someone that I personally have over Jeremy Bernard, but not by all that much. I just think he has more potential to be that X receiver, and that's Denzel Boston with Cleveland, getting that really early round 2 capital and going to a team that is kind of, I wouldn't say weak at receiver as they got Concepcion, but I don't think of Judy as a long-term kind of piece there. And Cedric Tillman's probably also on the way out there. So I see Denzel Boston as a really talented player that could potentially find his way into being a second or third option in this offense.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It feels like a safe floor. You're already getting Mendoza. It feels like you're getting a really good rounded out class here. I like that selection. For me now, we're getting into some uncharted waters here because it's like I know me and you are both really high on our guy Skylar Bell. When are we thinking that this is probably too early value wise though? If we're sitting here and we're drafting, like, are you like me and you both have Skylar Bell as our number 6 receiver of the rookie class? So it's like, but we're going off of draft rankings, and you gotta take consensus into it as well. If you feel like you're going to be able to get a guy later, and it just feels like Skylar Bell is somebody who's going to be available in the late second, early third. So why take a risk and take a jump on it now? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think like for this exercise though, since we're not doing like trade downs or anything, we might as well just take the guys where we view them. Like even if you could get Skylar Bell later, I think just for the purposes of this, we should probably just draft them where we view them, and maybe like just mention that, yeah, you could probably trade down and get additional value, but this is where we see the guys. So I'm completely fine with Skylar Bell here if you want.
Exactly. We're here to give our opinions on these guys, and I'm going to take Skylar Bell here. I think Skylar Bell is going to be a really strong player. I think that if you're able to look at this draft right here, if you're able to come away with Mekhi Lemon and Skylar Bell at the 1-4 and the 2-4, I think you're having a really good draft class. Now, like we were just talking about in prefacing, this is going to be a guy that's likely going to be available for you. You could see him use at the 34 spot. I mean, that's what, 4-4?
Yeah.
No, that's 4.
Yeah, with a 10-man league, 4-4.
That's 4-4. So like that is what we're saying. I think this is somebody who I've seen start to get a little bit of a rise on. People are starting to draft him earlier on, but he's likely going to be available at least in the third round. So I would say be cautious, but I think it is okay to take a risk on a guy that you like in this draft class. I don't think you're missing out, especially now that somebody like Boston is gone, who I have Bell above, but feels like a safer player. Like I do think now, and same with Bernard, I do think now that you can start getting into the juice and you can start taking some swings on some guys that you want to solidify in this class because it's not that strong.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase at the 2-4s, not too shabby. But okay, so in the spirit of kind of reaching on players a little bit, at the 2-5, I'm going to go with the Bell brother here, and take a shot on my guy, Chris Bell, someone who I think extremely high of just in the sense of his talent and ability going to a wide receiver room that's basically empty. And I like taking that shot, especially like what we've already said, like a pretty weak draft class here. You might as well start taking shots on extremely high upside players. And I think Chris Bell is a guy we both kind of agreed would have been a first or second round pick if not for the injury. And I just think that paired with the opportunity he might have early on is really intriguing, despite the fact that he fell a little bit more than we would have liked.
And then looking at this exercise here, go like I said, the second round is where you're going to find these flux of risky receivers. And especially now that this guy's taking Jadarian Price, I would probably normally put Jonah Coleman in terms of my rankings in this spot. I would put him in here, but with the guy taking Jadarian Price, I'm not buying it. I'm going to go with Antonio Williams here, which feels like, Mekhi Lemon. I've been calling him Mekhi Lemon light. And I like the situation. I like the landing spot of Washington. There's going to be a guy who can go in there and fill right into their slot. I expect a rise in their offense this year. So I like that draft as well. Coming away with Antonio Williams at the 2-6 and Jadarian Price, it feels like Price is going to be a safe running back option for you, and you get some really strong upside, I think, on Antonio Williams, a guy that you could be playing in your, let's say, flex position by the end of the year.
I like it. Yeah, I'm a big Antonio Williams fan as well. I think he's going to give immediate production in that slot. I am kind of interested in what Washington's going to do, though. There is some rumors of like guys they might target still. Brandon Ayuk. I saw some other guys' names kind of floated around because Washington really is kind of empty at their receiver room. But let's say they don't add anybody. I think this is a steal at the 2-6, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And I want to preface, maybe this isn't the time or the place, and considering this is the video, I don't understand them wanting to add Brandon Ayuk. I don't. And I get it. He played college football with Jaden Daniels for like, what, a fucking year?
Like, they want to rebuild that ASU team with Rachaad White too. That vaunted ASU team.
Yeah, like what? Like I don't understand it. Like, do you think like that is what you need in your locker room right now after what he did in San Francisco? Like, sure, maybe he does need a fresh start, but that's after the season you just put out there, after coming off an NFC Championship appearance with your rookie quarterback, you go and you slump as a team in whole. Like Dan Quinn is honestly ultimate. Like, lucky he did not get fired. I think in my eyes, like what he did as year one was great, but this is his second head coaching tenure. That hard of a drop off, especially like, I don't know. I don't understand the Brandon Ayuk thing. I think I love Antonio Williams. I think you stick with him, but there's a good chance that he adds there. But go on. Sorry.
I do also want to say, like, the weird thing about that Ayuk thing is their GM is Adam Peters, right? Who came from San Francisco. So it's like, you would think you would still have relationships with guys in San Francisco and realize how dirty Ayuk did them and want no parts of that, but I don't know, who knows. But anyways, moving on. This is where I'm going to go with my RB3, which is not Jonah Coleman. It is Nicholas Singleton from Tennessee. And I kind of talked about it in the RB video, but I kind of just like this landing spot more from the sense that the running back room is cleared for him next year. Tony Pollard's on a 1 year. Tyjae Spears is on a 1 year. And I don't think either one of those guys are coming back. So I think Nicholas Singleton has a real chance, kind of as a long-term play, of being a running back that can start or at least split a backfield next season. And that paired with, the 5-star talent and just some of the upside I see in him makes me want to take him more than Jonah Coleman, who I was not high on as a prospect at all.
And that's totally fair. And I think that this is probably around the range where you're going to see some guys reach on Singleton, and that's totally fair. That is a tier jump for me. Coleman was the only one who was still in my tier 4, which is what I would say. Where we cut it at, we cut tier 3 at Eli Stowers and Kenyon Sadiq area. Coleman is the only running back in my tier 4, and I do think, but we see. Look here, you took the play on Ty Simpson at the 1-8. I don't know. Don't know if I want to go Coleman here and pair him with Ty Simpson. I think I kind of want to go with DeJon Stribling. Ooh. Just because, like, I feel like unless you took a receiver in the first round and got some of the value there, I want to I want to make sure I'm walking away with a receiver in one of these first 2 rounds, because we're about to enter a drop-off where it's like gets even uglier at receiver. I still rather have the upside. And I think Coleman probably squeezes more into being safer with the other running backs that I have further down in my tier list. I think that we're probably getting a real bit low here for Jonah Coleman, but I'm going with Stribling here with Ty Simpson.
Yeah, so this for me would be a pretty big tier jump personally, just because of how I view Stribling. But I do not mind that at all. I mean, obviously he went pick 33. San Francisco does need more weapons on the outside, and they have some older players in there. Kittle recovering from an injury. McCaffrey's probably likely to get hurt going forward. I hate to say that, but it's true. So Juwan Jennings is gone. Brandon Ayuk's gone. So I do kind of like the opportunity for Stribling here. I just personally don't really view him as a fantasy kind of player. I think he's more of a guy that's going to take the top off the defense and clear out a lot of space down the field, and then also be one of those like not inline blockers, but someone that can really dig out safeties and linebackers in the run game and be a really valuable blocker, more so than like fantasy high volume target. But still, like, I don't mind that pick there, but it is a little bit of a reach. For me, I would take another receiver who I know you don't think very highly of, but that would be Malachi Fields, who was in my top 10 pre-draft and post-draft. I really like him in this spot in New York, just complementing Malik Neighbors really well. And in my opinion, I think he slots in immediately as the number 2 there. And I think it's really an intriguing fit in a young offense where, he can really grow with the quarterback and grow with his wide receiver 1 and Malik Neighbors and complement him really well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't knock you for this pick at all because I've touched on how Malachi Fields wasn't in my top 10, but how this was like the landing spot for a player like him, and you got the draft capital attached to him was pretty damn solid. Overall, really good selection here. I do think that his floor immediately rises now in this New York offense, and you got Eli Stowers there, and now Malachi Fields. I think you're having a pretty good draft so far. This is where I've got 2 players left in my tier 2, but we're gonna have to, or my tier 4, I should say. We're gonna have to kind of maybe shake this out a little bit here and see which way I want to go. But we took Omar Cooper Jr. I'm gonna go with Jonah Coleman here at the 20 spot. I think that you're gonna get some real good juice out of Jonah Coleman, some high upside in that Denver offense. This is worth the risk at pick 20 with a good, strong draft pick that they invested in him with an early 4th round pick. Kind of sort of an open room. I wouldn't say RJ Harvey's done anything to solidify and guarantee himself the backfield to himself. So, and we know Dobbins' history or injury history. So I like the value there at pick 20 for Jonah Coleman. Once again, I wasn't the largest on him. I just love I enjoyed the landing spot and what Sean Payton could do for him because I think it's a pretty open room considering his talent.
I agree with that. All right. I think I'm going to go with another receiver, a guy that I didn't have in my top 10 pre or post draft, but I actually really did like the talent, and he was just outside of it. And that's Zachariah Branch.
Motherfucker, Ryan.
Stole him from you. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that goes to Atlanta, which I honestly think is kind of similar to Antonio Williams in a lot of ways. Like he's the budget Antonio Williams, where kind of similar player out of the slot mostly, and then goes to a landing spot that doesn't have a receiver really outside of the number 1. And that's Drake London. Obviously, Kyle Pitts is there. Bijan's there. So there's a lot of weapons. But in terms of the receiver room, I don't see a lot in Atlanta. To be honest, I can't even name their wide receiver 2. Darnell Mooney left, didn't he? So I don't even know.
Darnell Mooney's in New York.
Yeah. So it's like, who's even Atlanta's wide receiver 2 right now? It probably will be Zachariah Branch. I just kind of really... I really like that opportunity, and then I'm high enough on the talent to be like, yeah, out of the slot, he's going to get some good touches, get some manufactured touches, a lot of targets a game. So I do like him as a valuable fantasy contributor.
This is a player that is growing on me as the days go on. Like I'm starting to see more and more of his film and just diving even deeper, and I'm starting to really get into some of his games in Georgia, dive even deeper to his games in Georgia. I watched plenty when I was scouting the player, and I'm getting even deeper. I think there's so much untapped potential. They were just using him as more of this gadget behind the line of scrimmage guy because of how twitchy he is. I think if you watch him versus Ole Miss in the college football playoff, he showed so many traits as an actual receiver, and you're starting, and this is, no pads on skeleton here, 7-on-7s, but what he's doing on the field, he looks super impressive right now. And maybe it's just that Atlanta black, but I love the uniform, everything. He looks like he fits in the
state in Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. Everything about the situation I'm falling in love with. This is a player that I do think is going to maybe start to go higher than where we have him at right now. Honestly, I would not be surprised if people are reaching on this guy around 16 or 17. Don't be surprised. I have a couple of drafts where I have 3 second-round picks. If I might take a shot on this guy in one of my leagues.
I totally agree
love
with
the
you.
talent.
Yeah, I honestly think he's the same as Antonio Williams in so many ways that I wouldn't be mad at putting him right behind Antonio Williams on like this board right here. Like I think he's in that same talent range, and I think he's got just as good a landing spot. So totally agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. And I love this draft already from 1-1. I mean, you're walking away with what was, pre-draft guaranteed consensus running back 1 and tight end 1, and you get a player with twitch and who could get some opportunities in Zachariah Branch. They're really putting together a class here. Now we're going to get into a little bit interesting here. I got 2 running back. Yep, and another tier break. That was, at least for me, a tier break. Was Zachariah Branch was the one. And I'm going to go with the top guy on my tier break. He went back-to-back Wide receivers at the 1-2 spot, Carnell Tate and Jeremy Bernard. I'm going with another guy that I think is a very safe player in Katron Allen in an open room. I know Ryan's not the biggest Katron Allen guy, but they had him at 24. We're getting into the point now where this is where Katron Allen is going to be going. I have him in my mid-round value pieces tier. So I think he's one of the top guys in that tier. I love his safeness and his floor that I think he brings to your fantasy team. And then when you pair him with Carnell Tate and Jeremy Bernard, both who I think very safe players, you got yourself a safe, strong draft class here.
Yeah, it's a little bit high for me. Personally, I think I would have had him more in the back end of the third round here, if not the early fourth, just because of the profile. In my opinion, he probably slots in as more of a goal line back immediately, and I'm not sure how much room he has to expand past that, just because I know their running back room this year is weak, but going forward, that's someone they can bring in could easily replace Katron Allen, who was a later round draft pick. So it'll be tough. He's gonna have to prove himself this year, I think, and show you a lot, or else I think he's going to be replaced next year pretty quickly with just Washington not really having a lot of resources in that room. But I don't mind the pick here. For me, I think I'm going to take a shot on a tight end, which is a guy that we didn't really like much, or at least I didn't even like much pre-draft, but goes to the Los Angeles Rams, and that's Max Clare. I know it's a crowded room, but I like the potential of him emerging as the front runner in that room. I think Higbee and Parkinson are probably not long for that team. And I think going forward, it's mostly going to be Max Clare against Ferguson. And I think of them as similar prospects. I might have even had Clare ranked a bit above Ferguson. So I think there's a real potential that he wins the starting job in 2 or 3 years here. And he's the tight end one in the best offense in the league. So I'm taking a shot there.
Yeah, I like the selection. There. I think that, Claire could be a premier option. I personally do kind of like Terrence Ferguson, and I do think it's a crowded room, and he might take a few years, which most tight ends do.
Yeah.
Take a few years to come onto the scene, but I don't mind it at all. I like the pick. I like the upside, or at least the ceiling of a player like that. This is where we start to kind of just be taking swings at fences here. Let's see here. I went with 2 wide receivers in a row. Do I want to triple down on wide receiver? Do I want to go running back? I got to think. I'm probably feeling like I want to take a swing on Demond Claiborne here.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. That's what I'm feeling, just because of the 2 wide receiver thing. I think maybe overall I'd probably go with the receiver in this direction, but if we're going to be taking swings now in these mid-round value guys, like the upside on Claiborne having the backfield to himself next year, I like that in this kind of range. In my eyes, you get a upside running back you can stash on the taxi squad to go with your 2 receivers that you took at previous picks.
Yeah, it's sad that we're at that part already where we're talking about taxi squad stashes, like early third. Like I said, man, the early third used to be a place where you could get good players.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this draft, that's just how it's going to go. But I don't mind the Demond Claiborne pick. I like him as well. For me, I'm going to go and take a swing again on a tight end, someone that kind of ends my tier.
Son of a bitch.
And that's the guy that went to New Orleans, Oscar Delp. We were very big on him pre-draft. Didn't exactly get the capital that we thought, but still gets to go to a situation where there's not a ton of weapons necessarily. Olave and Tyson are the most notable ones there. Juwan Johnson's probably only going to be there for another year or 2. So I like Oscar Delp kind of developing, sitting for a year, and then potentially taking over that tight end room in New Orleans.
Yeah, you did take 2 New Orleans at this spot, though.
That's fine.
One of them's gonna work.
I'm big on Kellen Moore.
I like this. I'm big on Kellen Moore too. I like it. Hey, in a draft like this, I think one of them are gonna work. It's like, hey, let's take some swings. Like, I would not be mad at you taking on the wrap if you take Caleb Douglas at the 4-5 with Chris Bell. Hey, one of them. I think I took Higgins and Noel back to back in last year's class. I was like, hey, one of them's gonna play out, which I wouldn't necessarily say. I wouldn't necessarily say either of them did. Here, I think I'm probably going to go with Jacoby Lane.
Okay.
This is, once again, I think we're getting into the part of the class now where It's kind of getting a little bit ugly, but I do think that he probably fits better with Zay Flowers than Elijah Surratt does. I think Elijah Surratt has probably the safer floor. But if we're talking about ceilings, give me the upside on Lane Moore. Spectacular catch. I mean, just an absolute freak. This guy has elite range, elite size. He's not a route technician by any means, and I'm worried about Baltimore receivers in general, as you know, it's never been a hot spot for wide receiver talent. But I think at this rate, I'm going to kind of go with some upside here and, being the potential wide receiver 2 in Baltimore.
I like it. Yeah. Jacoby Lane's not a guy that I was super high on necessarily pre-draft, but I definitely get those traits. And yeah, the landing spot's pretty good. And I think I'm also going to go with a receiver here. Just looking at this draft, that I picked Casey Concepcion and Singleton for this team. So I think I'm giving pretty good, immediate floor players there where they're going to have a role carved out for themselves. So I don't mind taking a swing on ultimate upside here. And I'm going to go with a receiver that's not Chris Brazell, actually, like you think I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the guy that went to Tampa Bay, and that's Ted Hurst.
Okay.
I'm really intrigued by this landing spot just because Mike Evans obviously leaves a pretty big void at that X receiver spot. And when I look at Tampa Bay, like they got a lot of good weapons, but they're all kind of like in the same build, like Ibuka and obviously Godwin and McMillan. They're kind of all these like slot type of receivers, or more so like flankers, like outside number 2s, but not the X receivers that are big play, stretch the field, go up and get it type of guys. And I think just the ultimate upside of Ted Hurst maybe taking over that Mike Evans role is what's intriguing to me here. I mean, he was insanely productive in college, didn't play that much high-end competition, but still someone I really liked in the draft process. And even though I was higher on Chris Brazell, I really hated Chris Brazell's landing spot to the point where I think Ted Hurst going ahead of him isn't that crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that. And this is something that me and Lucas really dove into. I remember last year just talking about Tampa Bay weapons. It's like that's a high volume offense. And now that Mike Evans is gone, that's why I bought Jalen McMillan last year when he was like kind of irrelevant. I was like, I'm going to go out there and purchase Jalen McMillan and see what he can become. Mike Evans walks now. We know the injury history of Chris Godwin. So I like taking the swing on Ted Hurst. Somebody's got to emerge in this high volume offense as the second pass catcher. And especially if Chris Godwin goes down, which it feels like he does often now at this point in his career. Hurst is a great option. I like the pick there as well. This is where it's tough because it's like, damn, I got two. Am I about to go back to back on the field extending wide receivers with Chris Brazell? Because I like the value at this point for Brazell. Like, I think if he's available, that's good. But I do think probably at this rate, I'm going to go with, do I want to go with Emmett Johnson? I think I want to go with Emmett Johnson. Just take the swing on the Chiefs running back and see what you can make of it. We love the talent. The landing spot wasn't great, but this is a guy who could carve out a really strong third down role. I do think that, and he's somebody who's going to make the best of his touches. I think at this point, I take the swing on it.
I like it. If you took Chris Brazell, I was going to be extremely nervous for Team 8 just because there wasn't going to be a lot of immediate production there at all.
Yep.
I mean, Ty Simpson's going to sit. Stribling is kind of a risky player. So I kind of like giving him Emmett Johnson, someone who's got extreme talent and someone that's going to touch the field this year for sure and have a little role carved out for himself. How big that role is going to be is yet to be seen, but I think there's possibility that he kind of emerges as not like a split backfield type of player, but someone that can see the field quite a bit just because of how highly I thought of him pre-draft. All right, so now this is my pick. See, the problem is we already took a tight end. And honestly, the guy that's remaining that would be in my tier is a tight end. So I guess I'm going to pass on that. And I'm going to go with a running back that I think is pretty intriguing just from the standpoint that he was the third one off the board in real life, and that's Kalen Black. Mm-hmm. I think, like I mentioned before with Christian McCaffrey, real chance he gets hurt this year. And I think Kalen Black is one of those players that's going to be a coach's favorite, that does everything the right way, plays extremely hard, kind of a high IQ, high floor type of player. And I think comparing him to Isaac Rendo, who's kind of more of a wild card, or Jordan James, who maybe is also not as safe or reliable, makes me feel like Kaylan Black could be the guy that takes over a lot of the carries here if McCaffrey were to go down. So I kind of like that floor and that potential upside as a handcuff as well.
I do think Kaylan Black probably goes much earlier than this. And when it's all said and done, maybe that's a stretch to say, but in my eyes, how I view him, I think he's right now a premium handcuff, like a premium handcuff. Like I do fully expect him to jump Jordan James, which I know some depth charts say opposite right now, but that guy didn't see a touch last year. He was a 5th round pick. He didn't even see the field. Yeah. Like I think he saw one, I think he dressed one game, and then 2, as a Garendo, like I've already touched on that situation. We have no clue what's going on there. I think he's as good as done. I think Kaylan Black, when it's all said and done, come training camp, come preseason, is going to be the RB2, and it's an immediate premium handcuff. Like if I'm a McCaffrey owner, and I might buy him in the late 2nd round. Like I might just take the security there and buy him in the late 2nd round. Like let's say I'm going after a ship again, and I want some security at RB. Like I can get behind Kaylan Black in the late 2nd. I can get behind that. So,
and even looking at this board, I mean, after Zachariah Branch, there's not a lot of guys that I'm so convicted about that I don't think Kaylan Black at the 3-2 is that crazy in this scenario.
No, there's no. You can easily make an argument for it. You easily can make. I mean, he was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah,
he's going to an offense where if McCaffrey goes down and he steps in, he is going to get a plethora of touches. And I just think though that if McCaffrey's on the field, this guy is irrelevant. That's the thing. It's like other guys I think are bringing more impact immediately, but the impact will not be nearly as significant if Kaylan Black is on the field. Like that is guaranteed, but I just don't know how often he's going to see the field if not. All right. So at this point, I'm 10th overall pick, he's a champion. Do I want to take upside on a quarterback here? A little swing on quarterback, or do I want to go with Brazil? I like the value here at Brazil. I'll go with Chris Brazil here just because why not? Let's get some immediate weapons, or not immediate weapons, but let's get some risky plays and some boom guys with the size and speed blend of Brazil on the champions team. Let's see what the champion can do with Brazil.
Yeah, I like Brazil a lot. I'm scared about that landing spot. I don't think
Agreed.
Bryce Young can get the ball down the field to him. So we'll see how that goes. But I do love the talent and I love the player, but also some character concerns there. So maybe not the most reliable, but at the 310, it's definitely worth a shot. All right. So here at the 4-1, once again, I do have a tight end in mind, but we already took a tight end with this guy. I feel like I've taken all the tight ends, so you might have to take the guy I'm thinking of.
You have taken 4. You've taken 4 tight ends, dude.
Yeah, so not a lot of spots for me to go 2 tight ends necessarily, but I'll stick with a receiver here, and I'm actually probably going to go a little bit off the rails here with my next guy. It's going to be someone who I think went in the 7th round in real life, and that's Deion Burks to Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
And for me here, it's... Yeah, 58. He's someone that was really hyped up pre-draft by a lot of different people as an underrated receiver. And I think when you pair, also I saw Steve. Did you see Steve Smith had him at his wide receiver 4? I think.
That was wild. I think he was like my wide receiver 16, but that was still probably 4th, 5th range.
Yeah. No, he was an intriguing player. He ran a 4.3, pretty productive in the SEC, or actually I think he was at Oklahoma, but still big Power 5 school. So yeah, I like the fact that he has underrated talent, but then more than that, he went to a pretty perfect spot in the sense that Indianapolis does not have a wide receiver 2 on the outside. It's Alec Pierce, it's Josh Downs, and Tyler Warren, and I don't even know who's going to be lining up out there. And I think Deion Burks has a legit chance of taking that spot. And it's kind of like a Walmart version of Skylar Bell in a way, where it's the opportunities there, the landing spots there, and the talents there. And even if they're kind of underrated as players and they didn't get the great draft capital, they can carve out a role just off of winning a spot in training camp. Because I think the one thing that I think personally is once you get in the building, it doesn't really matter where you're drafted. All that matters is your talent and you go out there and earn that spot. And I think Deion Burks has the legit opportunity to do that in Indy.
I agree with you, and I like it here. Like we talked about, man. These are right. This is the range where it's like, sheesh. It's like, damn, man. I don't know what's going on. Like these guys are probably not playing for you. And for me here, I'm gonna go with the upside, the risk pick that the at the 2 spot. You know, you've been pretty safe your whole class here so far. You got Tate, Bernard, and Katron Allen. I'm gonna go with Drew Allard. Take a swing on a quarterback. You're at the 1-2, man. Odds are you don't have a great quarterback. You take a swing on one who could potentially see the field this year, has the makeup of everything that you want in a quarterback, the big arm, the big size, but has a lot to do to piece it all together. But he has Mike McCarthy, a rebuilt offensive line, and a decent group of weapons. So I like the upside take here at the 4th round.
Yeah, definitely not what I would have done. I actually would have probably taken another quarterback that I like a little bit more that has similar upside. But I do like the mix that this team has here. Like you said, all that safety in the first 3 rounds. Might as well throw in a project player, someone that can be stashed on the practice squad. You know, for me here, I know I've taken so many tight ends, and I've already taken Max Clare here, but I just feel like this guy is the only one on my board that I really care enough to draft. And so I'm going to go with Justin Joly, who went to Denver. A pretty decent draft capital, but more so for me about the opportunity there, where Evan Ingram really didn't impress in his first year in Denver at all. Like, I thought he could be a really good piece in that offense, and it just never came to fruition. So I think maybe they're looking for a way out of that contract soon, and maybe Justin Joly can take over that tight end room. And so that to me is intriguing. Like I said, not a lot of great players here, so might as well double up at the tight end. Don't mind doing that at all. And I like Justin Joly as a safe play, kind of immediate role in the now, and then also maybe taking over in the future.
Yep, Joly and Allard were where I was gonna go for this pick. I was probably actually gonna go Joly here at the next spot, and surpass on, or if I didn't go with him at the 4-2. I love the pick, yeah, and I don't mind doubling down on Claire and Joly just because I do think that it's like I said, we're taking swings at a position group then. Like, when it's not this spread out elite draft class where you feel like you need to touch every single position, why not take a bunch of swings at, like, one of them, let's say one of them works then, and you got it. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to just take throws at a dartboard and hit a bullseye at this point. So I like double dipping at the tight end this late in the class and just hoping that one of them works out. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. Give me Elijah Surratt here. I like I know it's a wide receiver heavy group here, but I like the safetiness and kind of the floor that he brings to the Baltimore offense. I think that he maybe even has a slightly better chance than Jacoby Lane to be the true 2 there, but I like the upside more on Lane, and I don't think it's a strong 2. Like, I don't think that either of these guys are going to be like safe players in next year's class if Baltimore is in a position to land an elite receiver with their draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think that I'd rather just take the upside and hope one of them explodes in year 1. I think Surratt, like I said, might be safer option to get more targets this year, which is why I think this is good value for him. But overall, I don't think either of them are overly safe moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was a decently big fan of Elijah Surratt pre-draft, and I was kind of disappointed with how he fell. But I think here I'm going to go with another handcuff. We already talked about Kalon Black. I think of this guy as probably the second best handcuff in this draft, and that's Mike Washington Jr., someone that if Ashton Genty were to get hurt for whatever reason, really takes over that RB1 bell cow role and has a lot of upside of doing that. A lot of people were super high on this guy pre-draft, having him as high as their RB3. So I just think that if he gets that backfield to himself, it's pretty intriguing when you consider, like I said, revamped offensive line, Clint Kubiak run scheme. I think Mike Washington could be a top. I think he might even, you could argue, be a better handcuff than Kalon Black. I just think the odds that Ashton Genty get hurt versus Christian McCaffrey are a lot different, and Ashton Genty's not going to give up any snaps, just the type of player he is. So it makes Mike Washington's role a little bit hard to project, but kind of a pure handcuff in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I like the pick here. I like the what he could even like talked about Kubiak using multiple running backs as well in Seattle. So it's like, hey, this guy has elite speed and size. Like this could be a guy who maybe does get some touches, but how much value JT brings on all three downs, it's tough to imagine he's getting much work here. Now, I think at this rate, I probably just want to keep throwing darts at the dartboard on. Actually, I'm going to go with Eli Raridon here. This guy hasn't touched a tight end yet.
Finally, you took a tight end.
Yeah, I finally take a tight end. That was my first tight end selection. I'm gonna go with Raridon here. I like the landing spot of New England. I wouldn't say Hunter Henry is something that's very difficult to overcome, no matter how reliable he is and how much of a connection he has with Drake May. I'm gonna go with Raridon here, though. Take a swing on a tight end who, could find himself as the number one tight end in New England in a high volume offense with Drake May throwing him the ball, and there's not like a necessarily plethora of weapons there. Stephon Diggs isn't even there right now. You're looking down the barrel of eventually A.J. Brown, but after that, it's an open room. Raridon could be that guy. So I'm going to take a swing on a tight end there.
Yeah, I like Raridon. He's kind of one of my sleepers, actually, just because of also what Josh McDaniels does with tight ends. I really do like that as kind of a fit. Glad you took him, though, so I didn't have to worry about doubling up on tight ends anymore. In this spot, I took Ted Hurst last, and I kind of want to follow that trend of taking a swing on kind of a project upside wide receiver. And I'm going to go with Bryce Lance here, someone that I did really like pre-draft. He got good draft capital going in the 4th round to New Orleans, and kind of similar to the logic behind Oscar Delp. It's not really a very crowded room in terms of weapons. They got Olave and Tyson, but other than that, and I also do kind of think like, Olave is a very injury-prone player, as is Jordan Tyson. So just thinking about what if one or both of those guys were to get hurt, Bryce Lance would be the number one in this offense in terms of the wide receiver room. They literally have nothing else there. So I just kind of like that upside that Bryce Lance has as a player, really intriguing prospect, runs like a 4.3, tall, fast, athletic, stretches the field, has potential to develop as a route runner. So I kind of like this in a sense of kind of a handcuff receiver in a way to two guys that are extremely injury prone, and then, good landing spot in an offense I really like.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's see here. Where do I want to go with this one though here, Ryan? I don't know. We don't have a tight end yet in this one, but I think I kind of want to go with Brennan Thompson at this spot. Somebody I liked coming out of college. He lands in Los Angeles, which you always, when they have the quarterback and they have a play caller like Mike McDaniel, feel like it's good, and they put a 4th round pick into him, a very early 4th round pick into him, where it's like, I'm gonna take a swing on somebody like that at this value. This could be somebody. I do think that once you probably get past, which maybe is a tier gap to us, but once you probably get past like the 3.3, 3.4 range, these are gonna it's gonna be a flux of players that are gonna be going. Like I don't think anybody is solidified in there, right? Like I think I just got these guys all like I got like 20 players in a tier alone that I'm calling final round fillers. Like final round fillers. Like that's what we got here. And I think Brennan Thompson's one of those guys, but somebody might buy that Chargers upside.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. He's getting a lot of interesting comparisons. I saw some Tyreek Hill stuff floating around. Mike McDaniel obviously going in, loving this guy. Wasn't that the video where it's like he's going to take his shirt off? They draft him. Yeah. So definitely getting that stamp is interesting and intriguing. But for me here, I don't know. I'm kind of like out of players at this point. Like I don't even know where to go here. I think even though we both hate the guy, I think it's probably time we pick Carson Beck just because he's going to get starts at quarterback this year for a team that has a lot of weapons. I know he's probably not going to stick long term, but he's someone that is going to see the field, and that's at least a valuable thing to say about a quarterback. So I think Carson Beck's going to get multiple starts this year, and I'm willing to take him in this spot.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's probably the point where he should be going. And, as much as we might view Nussmeier in a dynasty aspect as a better long-term option, somebody you can just literally stash on your taxi squad for 5 years and hope it plays out. Yeah, I understand the Beck pick. You're probably going to see more immediate value from him anyway. We're at the point now where it's like these late round guys might as well take a swing on a quarterback. I don't think I'm ready yet. Like I mean, personally for me, I wouldn't have taken Beck there, but I get it. And I'm surprised you didn't go with Taylon Green, but I get the more immediate impact with Carson Beck. But yeah, I'm not ready to take Taylon Green yet either. I think at this rate, I'm gonna take a swing on the Chicago kid, and I'm gonna
Okay.
go with Xavier Thomas. And I think for me is I hated the Xavier Thomas pick. I couldn't stand it. Like infuriated. Like if you guys saw me blow up on the stream at the Xavier Thomas pick, I couldn't stand it. But I do think that we might have drafted a running back.
Okay.
Like I think that's maybe what we did draft. Feels natural at running back, plenty of snaps out of the backfield over the course of his college career. DeAndre Swift is under contract for only one more year. Obviously, this could be a guy who can fill into, Khalif Raymond's role next year once Khalif Raymond is gone. But I think that we saw a guy who's maybe actually going to be seeing the ball over the course of his career. This could be, Avalis Jones, though. Like, I'm not high on the pick. I need to be proven wrong on the pick, but we're talking about pick 40 here. Like, all right, give me the high-powered offense Chicago Bears with the genius play caller and the rising star quarterback in Caleb Williams. Like, all right, at this rate, fuck it. Let's take a swing on Xavier Thomas. I think we're past the point of safe picks where it feels like I'm gonna maybe just take the swing on some upside. Caleb Douglas is another guy who's like super interesting here as well.
Yeah, no, that's big character development from you, going from hating the guy to now he's your 410 here.
Oh, I mean, I still don't like the guy. Like, I still need to be proven wrong. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that this was a reach. I'm sticking true to my rankings here, but we're talking landing spot. We're talking potential touches. Yeah, fuck it. We'll see what he can do. Probably should have taken Caleb Douglas, but we'll take the swing on Xavier Thomas.
Fair. Yeah, I can't say Xavion's on my draft board personally, but I definitely see why you would take him, just shooting for some kind of like gadget, not like maybe Debo light type of role. So yeah, I totally get that. Here I'm going to go for the project quarterback. I'm going to go Taylon Green. One of those shots in the dark, a guy that could potentially find his way into starting for this Cleveland team at some point, just because I think so lowly of Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, to the point where I wouldn't be shocked if he found his way into the starting lineup as soon as this year. And I don't think he's going to perform well at all in real life standards, but for fantasy, he just brings so much rushing upside that even a terrible game from Taylon Green can be 10 plus fantasy points and worth, throwing into your super flex spot. So I just think that upside is worth it.
Yeah, I like the pick here at this rate. Might as well, right? And, I wouldn't say that, some might disagree with you, so you got to be careful with what you say, but I wouldn't say that Shedeur Sanders is locked into, any sort of role. They're already kind of calling it a competition with Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I don't think he overcomes Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson personally, but at this point, I think it's probably worth the risk. I'm probably going to go with Caleb Douglas here. First receiver selected for the Miami Dolphins. And you probably got to be feeling pretty good if you're at the 1-2 spot. Carnell Tate, Jeremy Bernard, Katron Allen, Drew Allar's the upside pick. But you get a third-round wide receiver, first one taken at the 5-2. I'd say that's pretty damn good. He's probably going to be somebody going earlier than that. I'm just not the biggest Caleb Douglas fan. That's the. I'm not a Caleb Douglas hater either, but I was significantly higher on Chris Bell than I was Caleb Douglas. And I'm still not in love with the landing spot of Miami overall. While, Malik Willis looked very promising in his time at Green Bay, I wouldn't say that it is a guarantee that Malik Willis is going to look like he did in Green Bay in a very quarterback-friendly system. So that's that. I'm still not sold on, Malik Willis or Miami's upside. I think this is going to be likely one of the worst teams in football this year. So, yeah, we probably should have taken this player a little bit sooner, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, this one's just more so like about the talent for me. Like I didn't think highly of Caleb Douglas at all. He probably wouldn't have been in my like top 20 or anything. So I think even though the room is weak, I still think Chris Bell's better. And honestly, I don't think he's better than Malik, even in the worst wide receiver room. I still don't think he's better than Malik Washington or Jalen Tolbert or any of the guys they've got there. So I wouldn't be shocked if he can't even find a role in their room. So, but I'm okay with taking him there, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think I'm going to take another shot in the dark here on a receiver that could find his way into the lineup just because they don't have much there. And that is another 7th-round pick, I believe, Malik Benson, who went to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep.
And that's just a spot where I think, like, who are even their receivers at this point, right? Trey Tucker, not much else. Jack Bech, who didn't show anything last year. So I liked Malik Benson as a prospect at Oregon. And even though he slipped really, really far, in my opinion, I still think the landing spot, it's kind of like a Deion Burke situation, but maybe a little bit less, because there is like a Brock Bowers, a Genty. Like, there are guys still in Las Vegas that will get a majority of the volume. But Malik Benson, I think, can carve out a role on the outside as a field stretching receiver in this offense. So that's why I'm going with him.
And you took Fernando Mendoza at the 1-3. Look at that. You got the pairing. You're already dreaming about the stack there. For me here, where are we at? We went Lemon, Bell, Claiborne, Surratt. I think we're gonna go. They're saying wide receiver, but we're gonna go with the running back, Adam Randall. At this point, you've got the Mickey pick, the gimmick pick that Ryan likes to call it. But I was high on Randall coming out of Clemson. I think that this could be a guy who finds some touches this year. They can be used in a multitude of roles. In a PPR league, why not take a guy on the receiver turned running back? We kind of saw Brashard Smith, who I kind of viewed them similarly, this receiver turned running back, find some fantasy value towards the second half of the Chiefs last year. I think that this could be something similar with Adam Randall here. And why not take the swing on him? You lock in, it says a wide receiver, but you lock in another upside running back or risky running back, whatever you want to call it, raw.
Yeah, I like that. I'm surprised they're calling him a receiver. It seems like he's definitely going to be playing running back in the NFL.
Kind of surprised by that as well.
All right, so I don't know really where to go here.
It's tough, man.
I think I'm going to go for another.
We're getting into players that we didn't even talk about, like in our videos.
No, like we're getting pretty deep here. Wide receiver, I'm going to go with Josh Cameron. I think Josh Cameron was a guy who got pretty good draft capital relative to where I viewed him. Is he even on the list?
Give me a second.
I guess not. I guess we're not going Josh Cameron.
What? How do they don't even have access to him?
That's crazy.
What are we doing here?
We can just put some random receiver in there then and call it Josh Cameron. But this is where I would go Josh Cameron because I think he got good draft capital. I think he gets to go to a really, really strong offense with Liam Cohen running things in Jacksonville. Obviously, Travis Hunter might not even be a receiver anymore. So that kind of opens the pathway, at least, to some potential work behind Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, Brian Thomas. So it's a bit of a crowded room for sure. But if you do think Travis Hunter is going to be a full-time corner and maybe going forward, you don't think that Brian Thomas is going to stay there very long or Jacoby Myers is getting older in age, I could see a pathway to Josh Cameron getting on the field. And if he does, he's going to be in such a high-powered offense that he's going to produce.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. We went with Eric McAllister instead. I don't know why Josh Cameron is not on here. At this point, probably going to take Eli Heidenreich just for the pass-catching upside of him as well. Might as well. It's a loaded running back room where it's like he's probably not going to see any work, but I think that this is another guy, a gadget guy that could be used in a multitude of ways. So I like taking the swing on him at this point of the draft. He was actually like my running back 11 coming out of the draft class. Wow. And then, I didn't really like the Pittsburgh landing spot, which I should maybe like the landing spot, but they need a pass catcher there. Or I would say that I don't know. They could, he could be used as a pass catcher there. Guys, he's got pass catching upside. He played a lot of wide receiver. He ran routes out of the backfield at Navy. Take the swing on the guy. That's all I'm saying.
I like it. All right, so this is the one team that I didn't pick a tight end for, so I think I'm going to take a shot at a tight end. I was thinking maybe Sam Roosh. I like my Bears bias maybe taking over a bit there, but I see him more as a blocking type, so I'm going to kind of take a swing on a bigger sleeper kind of play, and that's Matthew Hibner, who's been talked about quite a bit. Went pretty high in the draft. I think he's immediately going to kind of slot into that Isaiah Likely role that, left in free agency. And then
They don't have him either.
They don't have him. Wow. Okay.
What the hell?
Throw some random guy. Daquan Wright. Daquan Wright's Matthew Hibner. Yeah, I like this opportunity for him. Like, Isaiah Likely's gone. Mark Andrews getting older in age. Baltimore's always, run multiple tight end sets. Obviously, Declan Doyle's going there. He's a big believer in 13 personnel. So I think Matthew Hibner's got a real chance to be kind of like a breakout sleeper stud in the same way that Isaiah Likely was when he was drafted.
Yep, and that's why I'm going with Joy Royer at this spot. David Njoku just left, locking in a tight end for Cleveland, who, he could get some use. He could get some usage. 5th-round pick. I do think that that's clearly fan in the system, but we'll see what Joy Royer can do as the tight end too there. They run a lot of 12. They run a lot of 13. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to take a swing on Joe Royer at this point.
I like it. I think for my last pick here, I do kind of want to take another tight end, but I don't think there's, you know what? Screw it. We'll just take tight ends. It doesn't really matter at this point. There's not a lot of talent left on the board. So I'm going to go with another tight end that I think pretty highly of, and that's Michael Trigg. Even though he went undrafted, he was in both of our top 5s, I believe, pre-draft. Has some character concerns, things like that, but gets a really good landing spot, gets a chance to prove himself. If he can stay clean and stay focused, I think he could be someone that immediately slots into this Dallas tight end room as their number 2. And then Jake Ferguson's not some insane player that he can't take over that role, but obviously it's a long shot. He's undrafted. More likely that he gets put on a practice squad or cut, but I like the upside play.
Yeah. I don't see an issue in it in any way, shape, or form. This is
mystery relevant.
Yeah, this is mystery relevant here. Where do I want to go? Is DJ Giddens dead?
Possibly.
Do I go with McGowan? Because that's like another one of those like premium cuffs if Jonathan Taylor goes down. But I'm trying to think if DJ Giddens is dead or not, because I was a DJ Giddens guy. So
Lucas's tight end 3 is still out there. Marlon Klein.
Yeah, I'm not taking Marlon. I guess. Did I take a tight end yet? Oh, fuck. I mean, dude, it's crazy. Like, the dude's a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, but we know that these dudes are just extensions of the offensive line. I'm thinking about taking Kevin Coleman Jr. Where are we at here? Where are we at? I think I'll probably just fucking take Kevin Coleman Jr. Fuck it. Draft complete. Let's see how you did. Oh, there we go. We got like the whole PFF,
out there. Yeah.
Whole PFF mock ripoff. And there you have it. Let me try and see if I can get it all in one part of the screen. There you go. That is our 1 through 50. This is how you should see it play out. If you stuck around for this long in the video, you guys are legends. Thank you guys so much. We really had to stomach through a few there, but there's still some value to be found in this draft class. There is, but gear up on them 2027 picks if you can. Start trading back.
Yeah.
Start trading back. Get out while you can, because likely, I know that it's said a lot and it gets annoying, but likely to be a much better class in 2027.
Yeah, this time I don't think that's a lie. Like, we say that every year, but this time I think it's going to be true. I would be trying to trade out of 3rd, 4th, 5th-round picks if you could, even if it's for the same value next year. Try to do that, and I think there's going to be a lot better options next year.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Shout out to Ryan Cash Sharma for hopping on. We do have I wonder how long that's going to take, dude, because the 50 picks just took us an hour. How long is a startup draft going to take us? Probably quicker. Honestly, no, because we don't got to
talk about their landing spots necessarily, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't got to talk about like landing spots, and I don't know. We're going to find out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.